A heartbeat echoes through the dark. Slow, heavy, steady. The faint clinking of chains follows, then the soft murmur of a woman's prayer whispered not to be heard, but to be remembered. Narrator. She was carrying life, but surrounded by death. In the deep south, a pregnant woman did not rest. Her belly was not a symbol of hope, it was a ledger entry, another future slave in the making. The scene unfolds beneath a brutal sun. Vast plantations stretch endlessly, rows of cotton shimmering white, as if purity could exist in a place so stained. Overseers ride on horseback, watching every movement. The women bend low in the dirt, some with swollen bellies, their breaths shallow, their eyes vacant from exhaustion. In the world of slavery, the narrator continues, a woman's worth was not her humanity, but her capacity to produce not only crops but children. Her body was labor, her womb an investment. Every heartbeat inside her belly was profit waiting to. There were no soft hands to help her, no doctors, no tenderness. Pregnant or not, she worked the fields from dawn until nightfall, hands cracked, feet swollen, back bent. Whips did not discriminate between man or woman, laborer or mother. There was no mercy for pain, no pause for pregnancy. Those who faltered were reminded with cruelty that rest was not theirs to claim. Some collapsed under the sun, others gave birth standing, their screams swallowed by the wind, their newborns catching their first breath in the dust. On the plantation, the narrator says, voice trembling with restrained fury, pregnancy wasn't a reason to stop, it was a reason to be watched. To the enslavers, every month carried value. They called it natural increase. They called it growth. But for the women, it was a cycle of despair where creation itself became captivity. Behind the polished walls of plantation houses, the owners kept records, lists of women's names, ages, and the number of children they had borne. Some were forced into pregnancies by their enslavers or by arranged pairings, cold calculations designed to breed a stronger generation of laborers. She did not choose the father. She did not choose the child. She did not even choose to live as a mother. Her womb was a battlefield she never asked to fight on. In dim slave quarters, the women whispered warnings to one another, quiet prayers against the night. Some tried herbs to prevent conception. Others hid their newborns in desperate hope of saving them from being sold. But hope was fragile, and defiance was punished. The narrator's tone softens. They loved despite knowing love was a risk. They carried life despite knowing it might be taken. Every time they felt that kick inside their belly, they wondered, will this one live long enough to call me mama? By candlelight, a woman kneels beside a cradle made from scraps of wood and cloth. Her child sleeps, tiny, hands curled, unaware of the world waiting to claim him. Her face is blank, her eyes hollow. She hums an old African lullaby, a song carried across oceans of pain. Her songs were not for joy, the narrator whispers. They were shielded small moments of humanity in a world that denied her even that. The cruel truth is spoken softly but sharply. Pregnancy did not humanize her in the eyes of her oppressors. It made her more valuable and more vulnerable. For the same hands that demanded her labor could also sell her child. The plantations of Virginia, Georgia, and the Carolinas hid a secret industry, breeding grounds where women were forced to bear children again and again. Overseers measured productivity not just in cotton, but in births. Their bodies became machines of generational bondage. On ledgers, beside the names of mules and horses, were the names of women. Their babies were not blessings, they were assets. As the wind howls through the Serengeti fields, the narrator's voice fades into a haunting question. How does a mother love a child she knows she cannot protect? Silence. Then, faintly, the heartbeat returns, slower now, heavier. Her story, the narrator says, was not written in ink, but in blood, sweat, and tears. It lived in the soil she worked, in the songs she sang, in the dreams she dared to keep alive. For even in the darkness, she carried more than pain, she carried life. The sound of that same heartbeat echoes again, faint, distant, but still there. It beats beneath the cries of labor, the crack of whips, and the silence that follows. The narrator's voice returns, low and steady. For many women, birth was not a beginning, it was another form of bondage. The moment her baby entered the world, it already belonged to someone else. The camera drifts through a dim wooden cabin, lit only by the flicker of a single lantern. A woman lies on a rough blanket, drenched in sweat, her body trembling from exhaustion. No midwife, no comfort. Only another enslaved woman by her side, whispering encouragement. Outside, the overseer's voice can still be heard shouting orders. Some women gave birth in fields, the narrator continues, their cries muffled by the rustle of cotton. Others were forced back to work within days, lifting, carrying, sweating, while their bodies bled and their souls broke. The emotional weight deepens. Their children were not born free, they were born with price tags. To their enslavers, they were property listed in birth ledgers like cattle, tallied and traded. Plantation records tell the story in cold numbers. Betsy, 23 female, child delivered, both alive. The entries read like receipts, not lives. Behind every statistic was a mother who prayed, a child who cried, and a future that would never belong to them. Some of these women, the narrator whispers, stopped naming their babies. Because names made the goodbye harder. The film cuts to a scene of a woman clutching her newborn as men arrive to take him away. Her screams echo as she's restrained, the baby's wails fading into the distance. Motherhood, the narrator says, was a promise made only to be broken. Generations carried the scars. Children raised in the same fields where their mothers once labored. The trauma became inheritance invisible but unending. The lullabies passed down were not just songs, they were survival codes, ways to keep memories alive when history tried to erase them. Then comes a shift, the voice grows firmer, heavier, with truth. After the Civil War, a few women dared to speak. Their words shook the silence. The film flashes to old black and white images. Elderly women, faces lined with time, recounting their lives to WPA interviewers in the 1,930 seconds. Their voices trembled as they remembered being forced to give birth alone, losing babies to hunger or sale, and watching overseers treat their pregnancies like business transactions. They spoke not for pity, the narrator explains, but for remembrance so the world would finally know what was taken from them. Historians later discovered plantation records that confirmed what these women said. Pages upon pages detailing births, deaths, and valuations of mothers and infants. Evidence of a system that treated creation as commerce. These were not myths. These were receipts of pain. The narrator pauses. And yet, America chose amnesia. The antebellum South was rewritten into a fantasy, a world of elegant dresses and polite society. The image of white womanhood was polished to purity, while the truth of enslaved motherhood was buried. The screen fills with contrast white marble mansions standing tall over empty fields. They called it civilization. But civilization built on cruelty is nothing more than polished evil. Modern voices break the silence, authors, filmmakers, historians piecing together the fragments of truth long ignored. In documentaries, in songs, in novels, the mothers return. Their names, once erased, rise again. To tell these stories, the narrator says softly, is not to reopen wounds, it is to finally let them heal. The scene fades to the soil dark, rich, silent. Because that soil remembers. It remembers the cries, the blood, the pain. But it also remembers the strength. The heartbeat returns one last time, louder now, steady and proud. For every child born in chains, the narrator says, a mother's spirit broke, but her love endured. She fought for every breath, every step, every life that came after. They carried not just pain, but promise that one day, their children's children would walk free. Softly, the narrator concludes, to remember them is not to mourn, but to honor. Because even in chains, they gave life. And through that life, they changed The final line drifts into silence. The fields are quiet now, but if you listen closely, you can still hear their heartbeat.